So I'm done making my cabs. I actually made 5 of these cabs. So what you saw in the earlier part of this video was probably different cabs at different times. The best looking one ended up having a crack through it that I didn't notice until I started working on it, and it broke right in half. But anyhow, this one's pretty nice. Here's what I'm going to try to show you how to do, and I'm probably not going to do a very good job of this because I've only made 4 of these total. I made 2 of them a few months ago and 2 of them just last night. So I'm going to work on my next one here and try to show you what's going on, but I'll link to the videos that I used to learn how to do this. So this is a macrame wrap, and I am using this hemp cord by a company called Hemp Teak, and just looks like that. I like this natural stuff. In the videos I watched, they were using waxed cord, and I don't know if this has any wax on it, but all the other ones were colored, and I like the natural look of this. So this is what I end up using, and it seems to work okay. I don't know if it slips around as much as it should. Like in the videos when they make the knots, they kind of pull on the knots and they just sort of tighten up, even though this kind of binds on itself. So I don't know if it's perfect. So what we do first here is take off a bunch of this. And because I'm inexperienced in this, I'm going to have trouble telling you how much to use because I'm just sort of guessing. And I think I'm using more than I need to. So I'm going to get quite a bit here. And you actually need a fair amount at the ends to work with later on. So what I'm going to do is wrap it around these 2 screws here. I made this little jig, just made it real quick, nothing fancy here. I don't think these screws need to be any certain distance apart. As you'll see in a little bit, I'm going to put these, the string's going to get closer together later. So I got a bunch up there. I'm going to do the same thing down here. And you want to get this pretty tight. I don't know if I got it tight enough. Let's try that again. Okay, now I've been wasting some string, and I think this is where I'm wasting the most of it. So I'm doing an arm's length. I got my arms stretched out all the way, so that's about 6 feet. And then I think I'm just going to do about 1 more foot. Each time I make it a little bit shorter. I guess it's better to be too long than too short. But I'm going through the string faster than I thought I would. Okay, so now you take this and you get a little bit of extra on here. It doesn't have to be a whole lot, it's just like that. I don't know what that is, 8 inches maybe. And we're going to put it underneath. And then pull this through, and I've got the shorter string away from me. So tighten that up on there good. The short string's on that side, and then the long string's here. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. The short string away from me, put that underneath. And pull this through. Alright, so from here, we're going to take the left hand string and put it over top of here, and then the right hand string to the left, and then the left hand string over to the right. And I've got this one on top and this one underneath, and I'm going to do that every time I do this little weaving move. So this is going to come up underneath here. And then this one goes underneath and around like that. So it looks like that. And then you just tighten this up. Now I want to get these close together so they fit on my rock well. Get those up out of the way. This is where if I think I had the wax string, this stuff would be sliding a little easier. A little more friction here than I'd like. Alright, so the idea is that that's just a little bit wider than the rock. So when you wrap it around, there's enough to go around both sides and hold the rock in place. So we're just going to keep doing that. We're going to take the left hand side, or move this to the left hand side, take the right or the left one, move it to the right so they cross. This one's on the top, this one's underneath, and then we go up under here and do the same thing here. So it's like this, and we're going on this side up through there. And just sort of tightening it up. Now we want to keep this parallel all the way down, so I'm going to try to keep that the same width as I work. So this goes to the left, this goes to the right, underneath, underneath, and I'm just going to continue that on until I've got enough to wrap around the whole stone. Alright, so I think I got this where I want it. It's important that you test it to see that this is going to be the same as the perimeter of that. So the way you do that is, it's not easy, but you carefully roll this down the length. You gotta be careful it doesn't slide while you're doing that. And you don't want it too long. If anything, you want a little bit short, because if it's too long, it's gonna be loose around there. You wanna have to pull it together to get it to fit on right. All right, so I'm gonna untie the strings down at this end. All right, so at the one end here, you've got a loop. You want to cut that. So just cut it in the middle here. And this is the part where I get really frustrated. So first off, there's way too much string here. Better working with rocks than with string. We're going to wrap this around the rock. Like this. And the idea is the string that goes down the middle here, the string that goes down the middle of this row here, the one that was tied between the two screws, there's one on each end here, this string is going to be tied to itself when you wrap it around. So you're going to wrap it around like this and tie the string. And then you do the same thing on the bottom. You take the string that goes down the middle, okay, the one that was tied between the two screws, and it's wrapped around here, and you just tie that string together. Just do like just a regular knot, overhand knot, I think it's called. The problem is with just two hands, because I wasn't born with 5 hands, it's really difficult to do that. It took me like 15 minutes last night to do each one of those. That was by far the hardest part of this whole thing. So it's just, you need more hands. So I think I'm going to have my wife help me with this time. I'm going to do that off camera because I don't think she wants to be on camera, and we'll see what happens. I don't know what magic the lady on the video did to do that by herself, but I highly recommend having somebody else hold it. So my wife held it like this, held the thing around there, and then I just tied a knot here and a knot back here. That's the rope that goes through the middle here, comes around here, and you just tie I think it's called an overhand knot, here and one in the front. So we got it in there, it feels pretty secure. Now I need to do the little loop that the chain or the whatever your necklace goes through. So the idea here is you take those two knots, those two ropes you just tied together, that's these two, and set those out to the side here. And all the other strings come down the middle. And this is where you want those strings long enough. So those are the ones I had wrapped around the screws at the top and bottom of my little jig there. So this part, the only tricky part here is remembering left and right and which one you did last. So this goes over top like that. And then this string goes, so the one I'm holding here is over top of this one. And then you go underneath the little bundle of strings and then through this loop from the bottom. And I'll do that a couple of times. After I do it a couple of times, you'll probably see what I'm doing. Okay, and once you get the first one done, this goes a little better. Not that the first one's too hard. You want all these pulled down tight, and then you tighten this one up on the top. So I actually have to say this either out loud or in my head, but last time I made that loop on this side, this time I make that little loop over here like this. So now I'm going to cut off a little bit of this string, there's too much here. So now this one goes over the top, here, goes underneath the bundle here, and then through the back of this loop, like that, and we just tighten it up. So that one I started on the right. So I have to go left, right, left, right, left, right in my head as I'm doing this. So this time I'm taking on the left. We're going underneath here, and through there, and we just tighten it up. Alright, so now I've got enough that I can flip it over here and make a little loop. You can put a chain through or a rope through or whatever you want to put around your neck, your necklace through. So we take those same strings I was just using, get those pulled off to the sides. It's this one. And this gets trimmed. And in the videos I watched, they burned this part, and they were using that wax cord, and it must be more of a nylon or something, because this hemp cord just burns. So it doesn't really melt, but you can melt that with a lighter if you're using some other kind of cord. Keep it from fraying. I hope it doesn't fray this way. So now I'm going to tuck that around the back. So this is the front of the stone. This is getting tucked around the back. And you tie one single overhand knot here. Make sure that's tucked right down to the bottom. And this has to be down at the bottom. Like that. And then you turn it over, so this is the back now. And we do that twice. So once like this, and then one more to kind of lock it in place. And those get trimmed off. And there we have it. So kind of cool if you like that look. I was actually making these for my son, or one of them for my son. So the first time I did it, I had some cord I bought at Joann Fabrics. It was called wax cord, but it was kind of fuzzy, kind of almost a yarny sort of a thing. It was thin like this, but it was a little too fuzzy. It was black, and I didn't really like it. So I think this is actually the rock he had the black stuff around. I just redid it with this hemp cord. I think he'll like this better. So that's why they're so big also. That's a fairly big stone. So if you're doing it smaller, of course you would use less string and everything. But there we go. Macrame wrapped Petoskey Stone pendant. Thanks for watching.